Hello and welcome to the Slumbering Sloth Book Nook, a podcast about all things books, publishing and more. My name is Emma and today my guest is Elle English. Elle is currently travelling around the world with her family and is a children's book author and is currently in the process of running her Instagram account under The Adventurous Mum. Now on with the show. Thank you for coming on the podcast today, Elle.
Hi Emma, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
That's great. So first things first, can you tell us about your current projects?
Okay, so I have recently just launched my children's book, which is The Adventurous Kids Visit California. It's my first book and it will turn into a series eventually. It's based on our family that travel around the world, and each book will take you to a new destination. So we home educate our children, so I've made it quite educational, which I really like. And the first book is based on California. It takes you on a road trip. And yeah, so I'm just currently promoting that, and I've self-published it, so I'm just figuring out all the ways of how to get the word out there about it, really.
Yeah,
definitely. So I'm also working alongside my illustrator, and we're bringing some ideas for 2 new books for the series, which will take you to Italy and Wales. Yeah.
That sounds really cool. So it's just sort of as different projects, sort of different things, and started writing your books. So did you find self-publishing quite an easy process?
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's not been hard. It's just been timely, and just in my evenings, I've just been looking it up and doing more research about it. I had no idea what I was getting myself in for. I just knew I didn't want to be published. I never even looked into that route because I spoke to a couple of people that had written books, and that it kind of felt that control and that love for the book was almost taken away once they sent the book off. And I didn't want that. It was very personal to us, so I wanted to keep that going throughout the whole process, even throughout the sales process. It's all me, which I love.
Most definitely. So how did you obviously get the ideas and start beginning? I know obviously your travels had a massive influence on what you've written.
Yeah.
What would you say were like the first key ideas when you started thinking about planning or writing your book, or just sort of getting the ideas together?
Yeah. So we had got back from California actually, and when we were out there, we were in Yosemite National Park, and we saw bears walking past us. And when we came back home, my daughter, who would have been 3 years old, I think, or maybe 4, she was telling her friend that we had seen these bears, and he didn't quite connect with it. You know, he's seen bears in the zoo. It's not, we've all seen that. It's nothing that exciting, but it is when you see them in their natural habitat. So I wanted to kind of have a way to share that magical side of it and that educational side of it. I don't know. I wanted them to feel like our kids felt when they really saw it. So I thought maybe I'll print out our pictures just through like Vistaprint or something like that, and then just put some words with it that might make it into a bit of a story just to give to their friends. And then I was speaking to my friend who is an artist too, Gemma Butterworth, and she said that she would actually illustrate it. And then my brain just started working. I was thinking, wow, this could really be a thing here. And then it just all started from there. And then I thought, yeah, we'll make this into a series of books, and eventually it will take you around the world. Yeah.
Definitely, cool. So as you said, a main focal point of your books is sort of educational, sort of reading for children.
Yeah.
Do you find that quite easy to sort of get into, or did it sort of take you a bit of time to sort of like get some ideas together for that?
So I've never really seen myself as a real smart enough person to write a book, or to even, I don't know, to create a book. But I think because I've just had this idea and I've just believed in it, it's just gone, I don't know, it's just come out quite naturally to me. So I knew I didn't want to babyfy the places that we had been. So I've written in the book, we go to Yosemite National Park, not just some forest in California. I've said all the places quite well, just in full, so I haven't babyfied it, and that's why it's educational, because you're kind of learning all about those places. And then on each page there's like a bit of a bear that pops up with a piece of paper, and it holds a different fact. So it might not be relevant to 1-year-olds that are reading the book, but as the book grows in the family, you can sort of pick up more information as you go. So yeah, I loved that it can stay in a family and grow with them, really.
Yeah, of course. As you said, it's just quite incredible how kids can sort of just pick up anything nowadays and just like start reading. So it's very important that, kids from an young age can start like reading, and obviously encouraging them to obviously get into these books. And I think that's probably a really good way to begin. It's sort of like different and interesting.
Yeah, that's it. It's not because I've tried finding educational books for our kids for when we go traveling, and it's too factual. A lot of the books, they're just facts. They're not. My children are 4 and 3, and they're not interested in reading facts after fact after fact. It's just not fun. So I wanted it to still be a story, to still capture their imagination, and almost so that these children reading it can put themselves in the position of our children. So I think that helps you pick up information, because you're picking it up as you go. You don't even know you're learning it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like fun and engaging, more so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And inspiring.
Great. Oh, of course, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I remember a lot of the children's books I sort of grew up with, and they were like quite, fun and engaging and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I think that when you're a child, you don't think about it. You kind of just either you get bored by a book or you just become interested in it.
Yeah, and you're like fully absorbed with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where sort of they're missing a trick slightly, is that kids don't want to read big, bulky books with facts and stuff. They kind of want to be, that's probably what puts a lot of children off reading in the long run, wanting to pursue it. But I never had that problem. But some people obviously, some kids don't want to. It's a bit like me, I guess, with maths. I just got so bored with it, I just didn't want to do it.
I think a big part of that is then just schooling and education in general. I think we're forced to learn it too soon, and then it just takes away that love. I think all children love to read books, but it just gets to a certain point when there's a reason why we don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, just keep that love for it.
Yeah, reading's important, kids. We should learn to read. Just keep at it. Said even now, I think that even as adults, people kind of want to read, but as I said, it's the time or the place, or it's you say you want to do it, or they just don't want to do it. But I think it's definitely now become more accessible to sort of like with audio, or with you can literally just go and cook in your kitchen, and then you can just like listen to a book. Like we were listening when we were up to Literally Live the other day, we were like listening to a book in the car, and that was really good.
It's just so much more accessible now, isn't it?
Definitely. And plus, as I said, if you're on a plane or something, you don't want to carry a book around with you, you can like just take your audio book.
No, you're right, exactly. Yeah,
definitely. You got a book everywhere you go, so that's great. So obviously, sort of continue. I know you sort of touched on it in the beginning, but what are sort of the future plans for your books, and sort of where do you want to see them go?
Yeah, so I guess obviously it is the series of books, and eventually it'll take you around the world. But right now I'm also just focusing on the brand as a whole. So I'm the adventurous mum on my profiles, and I've sort of linked them in as the adventurous kids, and I want the kids reading the books to be the adventurous kids too, and it all just being one big community. And I think I'm going to start looking into maybe doing a bit of a pen pal with them. And just bringing in that community of children that may not be able to travel, but can almost travel in their own little way through our children, or through other children, or through these books. And then also I've created the Adventurous Kids page on Instagram, so that any children reading the book, their parents can sort of show them photos of our children in these locations. So just building the brand, I think, is a big plan, linked with the books as well. but with it's kind of a big whole thing. I don't know how to explain it.
That's okay, it's fine. I mean, as I said, your story is so fascinating. Also, I did a bit of reading before, obviously, you came on the podcast. And the fact that, you know, how you started these books and you get inspiration from obviously wherever you go. So that's always you're never going to sort of be shy of something to write about, really, are you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, so the second book was actually going to be Australia because we went there for 2 months, but we didn't have a great experience there. So I was just like, no, I'm not writing a book about this place. So I didn't. So then it was kind of put on hold for a little bit until we went to the next places, and then they were Wales and Italy, and then straight away I knew I needed to write a book about those. So yeah, it's exciting, but we now say that we need to travel to do research for our books.
Exactly. I was out in Australia. I can definitely tell you that I've definitely got some stories from camping in the middle of nowhere, and they're definitely like, trying to have wombats breaking into your tent at 2 in the morning. It's not exactly
Oh
like
no.
fun, but it is a scary place sometimes when you're out
Yeah.
and you have a giant spider on your
It
porch. It's
just it
lovely.
just rained most of the time we were in Australia.
Seriously.
Yeah. It rained for over the month. We were in there for 2 months.
Where
Yeah.
were you situated?
So we travelled from Sydney to Cairns.
Oh yes, Cairns is like very rainy. It's a
Yeah,
rainforest
it was real
region.
bad up that way.
Yeah, I was in Perth because I've got family out there, and it was I did a bit around, but it was like 42 degrees one day, and it was pretty unbearable. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's sitting inside with the aircon. That's pretty much
Yeah,
it.
it's different. We struggled with Australia, but okay, yeah, we could talk about that another time.
We can definitely talk about that another time. So kind of like kind of sort of taking a different turn. What you're like, where you're going to travel to next, or where you're next planning to go?
Okay, so actually we're spending Christmas in Scotland, which I feel like that could be a nice book. I like the idea of writing books more closer to home because it just makes it more of a reality for people reading them. I don't just want some people to read it and think, well, that's never going to be us, so I'm not going to get that book, because I want to just inspire kids. So I think Scotland might potentially be the next book, and then we're off to Asia for 6 months after that, and I'm sure we'll be able to find a book place, a destination in there somewhere.
There'll be a lot of inspiration there.
Yeah, I just need to take my pick of the country. We're doing most of Asia, so we'll see. I don't know what will come out of that.
It'll be fantastic, and especially
Yeah.
you're going to be immersed in so much as well.
Exactly, yeah. There's just so much educational things, well, all over the world, but there especially.
Yeah, definitely. So, sort of the last question. Obviously, I know you travel around a lot. And I don't know if you get a lot of time to read, but is there a book that you've read recently that you would like to recommend?
So I don't read loads of actual physical books, but my favourite book that I've ever read, and I've read it 4 times, is A Stolen Life by J.C. Dugard. I really love just true stories. They're the ones that touch me the most. And then I just read a whole bunch of blogs online. Yeah, that's most of my reading. And for the kids, I really love to read Julia Donaldson books. She was a huge inspiration for the illustrations for my book, and just kind of like the layout. But yeah, myself and my husband have read those books to our children as they've grown up, so they hold a lot of memories.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's something about children's illustrations from obviously when you're growing up, you sort of remember in your mind so much, aren't
Yeah,
they?
definitely. They're just kind of timeless. I love them.
Yeah, I remember I can't remember who it was. I think it was like the Spot books, like the Spot the dog
Yeah.
and all that. I remember those quite a lot.
Yeah. And what are the ones that you first learn and
It was the
learn to
Magic
read?
Key, I think. I remember
Yeah,
that
that's it.
one.
Yeah,
Biff and
yeah,
Chip. I think there
yeah.
was. I said Judith Kerr. I read some of Judith Kerr's books. I think it was like the Mog books with the cat.
I don't know that one.
There was quite a few. Obviously, Roald Dahl. Like Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
Obviously a massive influence. But yeah, no, there's definitely like a lot of books that are sort of passed down
And it's
kids.
the illustrations that you remember, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Very Hungry Caterpillar. I remember that one.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I was hungry caterpillar mad when my daughter was born.
Yeah. I think it's the fact it was like interactive as well, so you could kind of like.
Yeah, it's just so great.
Yeah.
And now you have the Gruffalo, which is huge.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Emma. It's nice to chat with you.
Lovely chat with you too. All right. Well, good luck with everything.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. You can follow Elle on Twitter at TheAdventurousMum1. If you'd like to get involved with the podcast, you can get in touch through Twitter at NovelM16 and use the hashtag Slothcast, or you can send me an email at slumberyslothbooknook@gmail.com. You can also find our podcast on our YouTube channel, Slumbering Sloth Book Nook, or download from Podbean and Apple Podcasts for an on-the-go experience. See you next week. Bye!